All right, Muslims, I have something I want to bring to your attention, something I've been bringing to your attention for years. This is not an attack on your religion. This is just the truth. So something I want to deal with here. And for anybody who want to know, I want to be doing this for pretty much every religion. All right. So that being said, let's go to Surah 434. All you gotta do is type this in the search bar, Surah. You type in the number four, and then the little dots right there, 34. It'll take you to Quran.com. This one you know it's Al Nisa. This is what it says. Men are in charge of women by right of what Allah has given one over the other and what they spend for maintenance from their wealth. So righteous women are devoutly obedient, guarding in the husband's absence what Allah would have them guard. But those wives from whom you fear arrogance, first advise them that if they persist, I mean they keep on doing it, forsake them in bed. And then it says, and finally strike them lightly. But if they obey you once more, it says, seek no means against them. Indeed, Allah is ever exalted and grand. So notice it gives the three steps here. All right. So it says, but those wives right here, it says, but those wives from whom you fear arrogance, disobedience, first advise them. Then if they persist, that they keep on being arrogant, etc., or disobedient, forsake them in bed. And finally, it says strike them. All right, and it says lightly. Now I want to give a little bit of disclaimer. You see what it says right here? Right of, go back, right of, and then we see here for maintenance, we see that. Then we see the husbands. Then we see the word here for wives. Then we see this word here first. And then if you go down, keep doing that. And they persist. And then, of course, we see the word finally, right? And then, of course, we see the word lightly. Every word I just highlighted is not in the original Arabic text, all right? That is something that was added there later, ladies and gentlemen. So it is not in the original Arabic text. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when we click on this, because you can actually click on this, a hyperlink, all right? Once you click on it,
واضربوهن.
see that? Translation, strike them. All right. Now here it is. That's in brackets. It's not there. All right. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, let me go back here.
واضربوهن.
All right. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do is I'm going to take this verse here. I'm going to copy it. All right. Remember, this is Surah 434. All right. I'm going to copy it. And then let me put it into AI software here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to say translate this verse word for word. Surah 434. All right, let's see what pops up, ladies and gentlemen. Analyzing image. Just for you guys can see that this is not just me saying this. Let's just see what it says real quick. It's working on getting it analyzed. And we'll see what it say, ladies and gents. Because again, a lot of people have been having lots of debates over this topic. Some said this is not talking about domestic violence. Some said that it is. And just for a disclaimer, guys, I am totally against domestic violence, totally against it. The Bible says, wives, submit yourself unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them. So don't be chaotic. Don't be harsh to your wives. So let's go back here. All right, here we go. Look at this. The men, the maintainers, caretakers in charge over upon the women. Because of that, he favored or preferred Allah and God some of them over others because of what they spend, form of, they have the word wealth. The righteous women are devoutly obedient, guarding, protecting the unseen, what is hidden, by what he guarded, and Allah God. Here we go. And so those women who you fear their rebellion or disobedience, then advise them and leave them in their beds. Look at this, and strike them. Hit them. See that little root strike. All right, daraba. All right. Then if they obey you, then do not seek against them a way of means. So in other words, after you've done those things, right? Matter of fact, watch this. By the way. Nope, not that part. All right, so go ahead and give me some understanding on this. Now, I'm definitely against domestic violence. But
Hear you, and I respect where you're coming from. This verse has stirred discussions for centuries. In classical contexts, some scholars saw it as a last resort measure to restore harmony, but many modern interpreters strongly emphasize that it never justifies harm. Today, a large portion of scholars push for nonviolent readings, focusing on advisory steps or symbolic separation rather than physical action. Ultimately, most emphasize compassion, reconciliation, and never condoning abuse. The key is always to interpret these texts with ethical principles that respect human dignity.
so now we say today a large portion of scholars push nonviolent readings. And when we're looking at that, I'm not talking about what man's interpretation is. If we look at this totally objective, what is this saying? With no feelings, no emotion, um, no people's opinions. What is the text actually saying there?
If we strip away all modern opinions and just look at the language, the text states that men are caretakers or responsible over women due to divine favor and financial support. It then describes ideal women as devout and protective. For situations of feared rebellion, the text gives a sequence: advise them, then separate in beds, then strike them. The word used does mean strike or hit in a literal sense. However, the text also immediately limits it. If obedience happens, no further action is allowed. Objectively, it's prescribing a sequence of actions to address a feared situation. Interpretation beyond that is where ethics and context come in.
So is this striking? Does it say how hard to hit them or how not hard to hit them? Because in the when we look at some Qurans, it has the words in bracket lightly. But is the word lightly in the text? And again, answer the first question first.
The original Arabic text does not specify the intensity. The word used simply means strike or hit. Any qualifiers like lightly are interpretive additions that appear in some translations or commentary to soften the meaning. The text itself does not describe how or how not to strike. No adverb is present. That's why interpretations differ, and why many insist on ethical context to guide application.
So that being said, if there's no when you said the text does not describe how or how not to strike, so somebody could basically knock the person out, knock their wife out, versus somebody might give a smack, or somebody might punch them or break their jaw. How do we decipher that, or does it not say? Remember, just be totally objective and no opinions, just totally objective.
Objectively, the text doesn't define limits. It's silent on intensity. The verb means strike without a qualifier. So yes, without external interpretive guidance, it leaves the action open. That's exactly why throughout history, scholars developed ethical constraints.
Well, I'm not
But if we
necessarily
strictly isolate the text, without interpretation, it does not spell out how forceful or not forceful. It's a bare instruction that has required interpretation over time.
So that being said, um, just to confirm, when we see in the English part here on Quran.com, when it says strike them, it has the word lightly. That being in brackets, you saying that, what did you say about those brackets again?
Those brackets represent an interpreter's addition. The original Arabic does not contain the word lightly. Translators often use brackets when they insert clarifications or interpretations not literally in the text. In other words, lightly isn't part of the actual verse. It's an interpretive choice to guide understanding.
Interesting. All right, Muslims. So look, as you see right here, let's go ahead and read this again, but without the brackets because we know it is not in the original text. Men are in charge of women by what Allah has given over them, given over the other, and what they spend from their wealth. So righteous women are devoutly obedient, guarding in absence what Allah would have them guard. But those from whom you fear arrogance, rebellion, advise them, forsake them in bed, and strike them. But if they obey you, seek no means against them. Indeed, Allah is ever exalted and great. So as we see right here, ladies and gentlemen,
واضربوهن
one more time,
واضربوهن
strike them. That's what that says. So if you believe in the Quran, my question is this: are you able to look at this objectively? No feelings, no emotion. Weigh in on this, brothers. No hadith. I don't want to hear from no hadith. I don't want to hear from no outside sources. I don't want to hear what scholars say. I don't want to hear nothing about no sunnah, nothing. Just weigh in on the text. If we're to subscribe to this text and you say that this text is holy, great. All right. So we need some understanding from the actual text. The text says strike them. I even just took it through the AI software and asked the questions objectively. Let's go ahead and deal with this. Let's be totally non-biased. Let's be mature about this, brothers and sisters. It says strike them, hit them. It didn't say the limit. So in other words, Johnny could knock her out. Tommy might could smack her. You know what I'm saying? So now we'll just look at it like, okay, well, it depends on how angry her husband is. You know, how far is he gonna go with it? You get what I'm saying? So you might not do it, but what about Johnny over there who's super angry? You know, he may knock her teeth out of her mouth, black her eye, break her nose, you know what I'm saying? Dislocate her jaw. You get what I'm saying? How is this gonna go? You know, how carried away is he? Can he get away with that? You get what I'm saying? So let's weigh in on this, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to it. No feelings, no emotion. Let's just get right to it. The text says strike. That's what it say. The robber strike. The robber in that context means strike and hit. In that verse, in that context.